that all situations and circumstances within your physical experience, your day-to-day reality, are basically neutral props in relation to each other with no inherent meaning within them other than the meaning that you give them. Everything being blank, empty, neutral, allows you, by giving the appropriate meaning, to extract from that circumstance the effect that you desire. As we have indicated, positive meaning in, positive effect out, negative meaning in, negative effect out. Simple physics, simple mechanics. Now let us take this understanding a little bit further. We have discussed the idea that what you experience to be your physical reality, in a sense, is a combination of vibratory frequencies. This combination of vibratory frequencies represents all the probable or potential realities there can possibly be. They all exist right now, right here, all at once. They form what can be called the background reality, so to speak. Not that there is any one real reality any more real than any other. Not that there is one truth against which to measure other realities for their validity or truth. But the reality is the composite of all realities, all truths, in what you may call a holographic fashion. Overlaid, intertwined, interwoven. In a sense, laying in wait for a specific stimulus to bring to the surface of that general background any particular reality that you may choose to call a dimension of experience or a universal realm. Now, how you call those particular vibratory frequencies to the surface and allow yourselves to experience that particular reality is through your beliefs, through your attitudes, through the vibration you create yourself to be. Through, for all practical intents and purposes, the meaning you choose to give to the idea of a fundamentally homogeneous background. Through the meaning you create, do you then actually create the physical reality you experience? So in a sense, it is not so much the experience that gives rise to meaning, it is meaning that gives rise to the experience. When you project yourself into physiological reality and determine as a non-physical consciousness that you will create certain types of experiences, that is the meaning you are giving to that particular life you are creating, that particular aspect you are creating for yourself as a non-physical entity to experience as a limited, physically focused entity. It is that meaning, that overall desire, that then vibrates at a certain frequency and then calls out of the background vibration through a sympathetic synchronization all the circumstances necessary that represent the meaning you have injected into the general life theme or structure that you are about to live as a physical being. Is all of this making some sense so far? All right. Simply put, the idea is that all circumstances are neutral. The meaning you choose to believe, the meaning you choose to create in life, about your life, is what generates the particular types of circumstances you experience to reinforce and reflect and represent the meanings you are creating. Giving meaning is the actual act of creation itself. To give meaning to something is to create it into existence in your particular experiential realm. Nothing has built-in meaning. There are no inherent meanings in anything. All vibratory realities are simply a neutral set of circumstances in relation to one another, to some degree representational of a type of crystal lattice work that represents the overall holographic experience of all reality, of all creation. But the meaning that you generate within your attitude, the idea that you create within the being that you are, is what generates the type of frequency that then pulls out of the homogeneous background all the experiences that then represent the meaning of your life. Many of you, as you have discussed with us, go through life searching for the meaning of your life. But you see, your life is created simply by the meaning you give to it. So when you are searching for the meaning in that sense, you are chasing your own tail in many ways. The idea is to recognize, as we have discussed, that you have the power of conscious commandment, the ability to make decisions consciously that you know are decisions that represent the life you prefer to live. And then when you give your life that meaning, that is the style of life you experience. For the vibration that you are will pull out of that background all the circumstances literally, all the situations literally, all the relationships literally, all the objects literally that represent the meaning, the vibrational resonance, the harmonic you have given to your life. You have given to the circumstances that you have generated through the initial meaning that you had, which created the spontaneous creation of your life to begin with as a physical being, as a physical entity. So simply allow yourselves to know you are the definers, ultimately, of the life you experience. And as you define it, as you give it meaning, your life takes on only and can only take on the colorations and the characteristics and the flavors and the atmospheres of the meaning you decide your life will have. And that is what you will see reflected in the holographic background, the matrix of all universal probable realities. The idea we have also discussed is that everything is synchronicity. Everything is interconnected with everything else. This is a part of the holographic weave. Every single portion of the whole contains the total information of the whole. Every single area is representative of all creation. Everything is all here, all now. So whatever vibratory frequency you are on determines what aspects, what faces, what facets of the total reality that is right here that you will see and experience as your life. So the way to generate most easily the particular vibratory frequency of the life you prefer is to give your life the meaning you prefer to give it, and to cease to assume that the situations that occur in your life intrinsically come with a meaning that you may not like. There is no reason to play victim in this. There is no reason to assume that you are assigned a meaning in life and that you have to stick with that idea, that you have to live that out, even if it is a struggle, even if it is a suffering. When you decide what meaning your life has in that sense, what your life is to be represented by, what attitudes, what actions, what preferences, what knowledge, what applications you decide are pertinent to who you are, you give your life the meaning that it can then take its clue from and pattern itself after. Looking for the meaning in the events as they occur, in a sense, is after the fact. Give your life the meaning you prefer to give it, and it will conform in all aspects to the meaning you have decided it shall have. You all understand? Well, thank you very much. At this timing, allow us once again to extend to each and every one of you our utmost appreciation and joy in your willingness to interact with us, in your willingness to function as ambassadors to your civilization, and allowing me to function as an ambassador from our respective civilizations and the association of worlds. Say good day to you this day, your time. How are you all? Once again, we take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for the co-creation of this interaction through this gateway at this time. We will begin this transmission with the concept entitled patterns. Many of you will, if we may state this briefly, recognize that from time to time, there are existing within any certain block of information patterns that may represent one's ability in perceiving those patterns to draw conclusions, to come to a certain perspective, to perceive certain things within that block of information that other individuals who cannot perceive the same patterns may not arrive at, may not come to the same conclusions of. In any given block of information that represents some particular truth, some particular perspective within the holographic reality of all that is, each and every particular block of information will have to some degree patterns within it that individuals will infer conclusions from, will perceive directions in. Now, the ability to perceive these patterns will, of course, always be based upon the individual's assumptions, beliefs, upbringing, perspectives. In other words, their mindset will determine whether they even have the ability to perceive what patterns might be there. And of course, conversely, an individual's mindset, the way they have been trained to think, the way they have been trained to see things, can sometimes also create the apparency of patterns that may not be there except as subjectively, but may not be perceived by anyone other than a single individual who perceives those particular patterns. So it is both directions. The inability to perceive patterns, where an individual may be able to look at a block of information and come to certain conclusions that they believe are simply obvious to anyone, will not be obvious to everyone. Because certain individuals, because of their mindset, may simply not have the capability or the capacity to see those patterns at all. This is quite common. It is really very common. If you have a block, a string of numbers, you will find that it will usually be relatively difficult for most individuals in your society to look at that string of numbers and see any immediate relevant pattern. However, you also know that there are individuals within your society who have a high degree of focus in certain ways that would allow them to instantaneously and immediately see the pattern within the string of numbers that the majority of individuals on your planet would have absolute difficulty in perceiving without much investigation. But this kind of inability exists and is embedded throughout your day-to-day conversations and all the information that comes to you about any particular given event. There will be, in many of these blocks of information, patterns that will allow individuals to draw certain conclusions, to see certain avenues and certain paths of resolution or directions in which certain things may go that other individuals simply have not got a clue about because they simply do not have the mindset nor the capability to see such patterns. And again, conversely, there will be blocks of information that individuals will read many patterns into that no one else will be capable of seeing. Simply what is being said is that in any given communication, this must always be taken into account. That patterns exist only based upon, really, the perceptions of individuals, because any pattern, any kind of pattern, any path, any direction will exist within the overall holographic wholeness of all that is. But what portion of that you perceive will always be ultimately determined by exactly your mindset, your perspective at any given moment, which of course can change from moment to moment. But simply remember to never assume that what you may not see at first, that does not mean it is not there. And conversely, that what you may see doesn't mean that it is for anyone but you. It is with these considerations, first and foremost, in any communication, that will allow an individual to begin to truly investigate the depth of meaning and find some degree of commonality or understanding in any relevant communication that is undertaken. If these ideas of pattern recognition will first be realized as the subjective level that they are, then This attitude first, this perspective first, will impose itself upon any such block of information and help individuals to realize the different degrees of patterns that can be perceived therein, or perhaps allow them to realize how it is possible that no pattern at all may be capable of being discerned by certain individuals whatsoever. We simply share this with you as an idea. And we now extend to each and every one of you once again our deep appreciation in allowing this communication and whatever attendant patterns may or may not come with it